Hello everybody, and welcome back to the building of the Keelcraft Ladybird. In the last video I'd pushed on and I'd made a fuel tank. I've since measured this up and it turns out that it holds 15 ml of fluid. I wasn't sure whether I could fit it in neatly, so I made a second one and this holds 10 ml. If I can fit this one, I'm going to fit it in, and that's what I'm going to try and do now, is to build this cowl area and finish off this section of the model and perhaps push on and get the engine mounted as well. I'm pleased that this little series has inspired at least one modeller, Brendan, to dig out an old kit that was part started, and he's pushing on. In fact, I think if I don't get a little wiggle on here, he might get his model into the air before this one. I'd slowed down actually deliberately, to be honest with you, because Roy, the chap who gave me the kit from his father's collection, is on vacation for a few weeks, and he asked me to promise him not to get the thing flying. He wants to see the maiden, and of course I'm going to do that. But there's still lots more to do, even though it looks quite advanced. And let's press on and do this part, which is to glue in and to fit in the tank. So the first thing I'm going to do is glue this in, which I suppose would be the dashboard, and get a suitable angle. It's not critical, but it looks nice if it's got the right angle. There you go, I can live with that. And if I can get this tank in, which I think I can, I'm going to go with a bigger one. That is, after all, the reason why I soldered it up. What I think I'm going to do is, I'm going to have, let's put some of the fuel tubing on. If I put this on, if I have it like that, the fuel tubing will actually come out the side, but I like that idea because I can see where the fuel is making its way to the engine. And then if we just mock this up, it's all a little bit Heath Robinson at the moment, so the fuel tubing would sort of go back in here. I could chuck it back in, so it sort of came out and came back in. I might get away without it being visible at all, actually. And then I'll have the two exhaust stacks, the filler and the exhaust sticking out over the top, which is what I want. Right, let's press on with that then. So now I've committed to that, I have to secure this tank. And I'm thinking about using some blue foam to sort of wedge it in. The weight's negligible, and if I cut a piece of the foam in there to push up against here, I think that'll achieve what I want. Yeah, I'm going to pause it there and I'll cut this foam up, we'll pack it in and we'll see how it goes. Well, I've used this glue, it's Yoo-Hoo or Oohoo Pour, which is foam safe. I'm going to place the tank where I would like it to go, and I've put some glue on there, and it works. You can use this like a contact adhesive, and this is ready to push in. There's some glue on the wood. Trouble with contact adhesives are the glue and the contact, but there's just enough give in this. And I push that on. Happy with that. That's a good location. This stuff's really handy. It's used a lot in modelling of model railways. I know it's used a lot in North America. They use it for making the baseboards for model railways. But it's just a handy medium to work with. And that's going to secure the tank in position it's going nowhere. So the next thing I have to do is to start adding on some cross supports. I cut that one out before just to try it. Put a drab of CA glue on there, and that'll form the support for the planking that goes round, or the covering that goes round. I'm going to glue that in situ and then cut the length off. I can sand that off when it's all done. Put a little bit of an angle on this one. And that's not taking very long at all. Sometimes hit impasses where you seem to stop and don't make any progress. And for me, that's normally when I'm trying to think something through, or I realised there was going to be a bit of a log jam, and obviously it was obtaining a tank or making a tank. I was very lucky at the weekend, as I said in the video where I made that I found some partly constructed tanks, blanks so to speak, and I was able to make it up. So there we go, that's that bit done. That tank's going nowhere now, it's secure, I've committed to it. And now to add the covering over here. I'm thinking about using some 1/64 ply, very lightweight, very thin, and it'll give a nice finish. How am I going to tackle that? It's time for another template, I think. I'll make it out of card, get it to fit over here nice and neatly. When I'm happy with that, I'll cut it out of the wood. So we'll do that bit next. Here we go then, let's begin cutting out and making the cowling. The first stage will be to actually make a paper template, and then I'll use that to transfer the shape onto the wood. In my case, ply. Anybody else making this model may use thin balsa. It's just I happen to have it available. You can see here that I've added these window braces on. I just realised they needed to be added. So first thing, nothing very precise about this. I'm simply going to use the technique that I used on the Falcon for making the windshield, and that is using a brass rubbing technique. All will become clear if you haven't seen that yet. So I'm going to press that down, and with a pencil just rub where the edge of the and I'm going to cut that out now. Starts the process approximately anyway. Put that over. We've now got the front edge established. Let's get this rear one. I'm just feeling starting to get the shape. Well, you know, it's taking seconds to do that and it's not far off. So what I'll do is I'll keep refining it. I'll keep refining this till I'm happy with it. And only when I'm happy with it will I cut it out of the wood. There's the edge. That's what I need to cut. and I'll carry on like that until I'm totally satisfied. We're starting to get somewhere. Taking a little bit too much off there, but I can see that. I think you can see that I'm starting to get the required template that I can then use. There you go. That's the way to do it. So I'll transfer that onto the plywood. I'll cut it out. I'll be a little bit neater with this hole. I just hacked it out to get it round. In fact, I'll mark on where I've got to go to. That's the limit there. 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 So I can reduce the size. I might produce a second one. I'll do that out of card, perhaps, and see if I can get much closer to what I want. Let's pause and try that out. Here we go. This is a template made out of some red card. I just use that so you could see it easily. I can still draw on this and add any refinements or things I want to do, so let's try it. See, I'm a little bit, I don't know if you can see that, I'm a little bit shy here. So, actually very little. I'll just mark on where I need to be a little bit more generous. And if I cut that out of wood, I think I'll be happy with that. Might be a touch long still on that side. And I don't know if you can see that, but I've pressed on it to give an impression from the wood. So that's how much I'm cutting off. And that should be a better fit. Taking advantage of the properties of the paper than the card. And just pressing on where it's sticking over. That I think I will be very happy with. If I cut that out of plywood now, which I'll do, and then we'll stick that on, get an idea of how it's going to go together. Let's proceed now to mark out, I've gone a little bit deep there, mark out the ply. Take it there, let's not be wasteful if we can avoid it. Yeah, that's okay. Now, you can see the pencil marks here. I've marked those on because the angle of the slot for the tubes was slightly wrong. So what I'm doing here is rectifying that. And likewise, here I took too much out. And we'll try to make a neater finish for the fuel tube. Fuel supply tube, shall we call it. Okay, here we go. Beautiful wood this, from my friend's stash who I picked it up from him. 1/64. Beautiful stuff. And you obviously pay for this. If you were to buy it new, it would cost an arm and a leg. But I'm sure we've all got collections of material that we're never going to use. Comes back to the video I did about taking on kits that we're never going to build. It's such a shame, really. I'm determined, I keep saying this, but I'm determined that the workshop's going to have a clear out this year. It can't get moved. But I'm a messy worker. Some people are very neat, and I think if you're a messy worker, that's what you are. And to try and do otherwise will just make you very unhappy. If you're constantly battling, and likewise, if you're a very neat worker and you don't have, and you find it uncomfortable when things are all over the place, then to try and change your personal preferences will just bring you grief. And we're in this because it's a hobby. I'm sure many of us have had to do jobs that you don't enjoy. I'm certainly not going to do something I don't enjoy as a hobby. It's just my philosophy on it. Almost there with this bit. It's worth taking your time. Come out now. If these don't fit over the holes, I'm not too concerned. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Hope you can see we're not far off there at all. A little bit to trim off on this side here. We'll do that, and I think I'm actually going to apply a little bit of steam to this because I think it'll benefit from it. Even though it's very thin, there we go. The excess can be trimmed off around this front edge and around there. I think I'm rather pleased with that. You're allowed to be, you know. Give yourself a pat on the back now and again. Why not? Plenty will criticise what you do. Hope you can see that. There you go. That's the cowl, this part of the cowling produced. I'll apply a little bit of steam to that. The next time you see it, it'll all be glued on. There we have it, glued in place. Needs a little bit of sanding along the edges, that needs gluing down there. I'll repeat the process for the lower side, plank that in now. It says to be planked, but I think I'll use this plywood. I've got it, so I might as well use it to produce a nice finish here. And then take some of the planking, put a hatch in this area for access to the radio gear. And by radio gear I only mean the battery and the receiver, because the servos are going to be mounted back in this area. So I hope you found that useful. Cowl fits on like this. Needs a little bit of sanding inside, but you get a feel of what the thing looks like now. Hope you enjoyed that. It was quite trouble-free. I enjoyed making it. Bye for now. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe. And if you don't mind, give me a thumbs up just for my ego. Bye now.